This is the main gate of Chonnam National University, where the May uprising started 40 years ago. So at that time, all major campuses of Korea were occupied by paratroopers, but only at this place, students confronted the paratroopers, and that's how the May uprising started. Without that confrontation, we may not know that kind of accident happened 40 years ago. But the courage of the students made the historical event, which started the long process of democratization of South Korea. This was the main building of the university, but the administration moved out of this to the bigger nearby building, and then they converted this building into the Museum of University History, and then May 18. This is the favorite place for me to show the people from other places to talk about modern history of Korean democratization and May uprising. If we get here, you can see the history of modern Korea very briefly, but because of the coronavirus, the building was locked for the last 6 months, so we cannot get in. And then probably if we get in, the smell might not be so good, either healthy. That's why we're not getting there. After this, we will go to the back side of this building to see something more about May 18.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Let's move.
Okay,
Let's go. So after 1980 May uprising, the whole campus was like a battleground, but this place was the main battleground. Or around the main gate, or here. But the students were blocked from going outside the campus to have a demonstration. But even inside, very demonstration, even with a few students, were prohibited. But students used to have a gathering or a demonstration right in front of the White Library. So students usually stay there. Riot police stay here. They confronted. So sometimes riot police try to encircle the students to arrest them, or sometimes students attack or push riot police over. And then the whole campus was full of tear gas smells. So even in my classroom, I was interrupted by the tear gas from teaching students when I was teaching here. In fact, I was teaching here for more than 31 years. So from 1981, right after May uprising, so about 10 years after 1980, it was a difficult place to teach or to study. Then that kind of experience, students learn about social issues, about the importance of democracy, about the importance of human rights. So I consider 1980 was a classroom for the young people to learn about society. And then I also learned a lot from my experience. Even though I was a professor here, still I learned a lot, as my students did. And then over there, you can see a mural. That mural was made by art students 1990, 10 years after 1980. It took about 1 week to have them finished. This is a memorial hall of the poet Kim Nam-ju. The reason that we have a memorial hall is because he was a student at English department of Chonnam National. He's about my age. But he was considered the most radical poet in 1970s and the 1980s. He died in 1994, I suppose, but he was imprisoned in 1979, right before May 18 uprising. So he was in the prison at that time. So he was given life sentence. So he was supposed to be in the prison all through his life, but he was released because of the democratization of the country. Otherwise, he might have died in prison. But still, even though he was released afterwards, he got tortured a lot, and then because of the hardship in the prison, several years later, he died. The reason I wanted to show you this place is because memorial of those who died for the democracy and human rights is really important. Remembering them through this kind of place and then learning from their experiences, we follow their steps for our future. So there are many legendary people in Chonnam National University campus as well as in Gwangju place, all around Korea as well. But even though we have many activists, many wonderful people, still we have to remember them. Then their experience can be transferred into the future of our history. So I myself also contributed to make this memorial hall. Other than Kim Nam-ju, we have many other places, like many other people, like Park Gwan-hyun. He was president of the student council in May 18, but he was imprisoned, but he staged hunger strike. Because of the hunger strike, he died. So he was an eloquent speaker and a very skillful leader of the students in May 18. So because of his presence, the student movement was a lot strengthened with a lot of strategy as well. He was skillful enough to negotiate with police while staging demonstration. That kind of important person we have, like we have YOON Han-bong. He is also graduate of Agriculture University, College of Agriculture. He was a very skillful organizer. So he organized all activist groups, old, young, students, laborers, common citizens to get to collaborate, to stage demonstration, to fight against dictatorship. But he was designated as the head of the rebels. So if he got caught, many others would be in danger. So he smuggled himself out from Korea. He fled to the U.S. in 1981. And then in cargo ship, he stayed there only 5 ramen and then 1 honey bottle. He survived only with those small, minimal food for 35 days. He locked himself in a toilet, and then he used the water in the toilet, and then the 5 packs of noodle, and then 1 bottle of honey to survive. And so he also fled to the U.S. and then he carried out movement, organizing different Korean people over there. So he also came back after pardon. He got pardon from the government with more democracy at hand we have in 1994 or around that time. But because of his hardship, probably 35 days of hunger, he died early here. But there are so many wonderful activists we have to learn from. So this is one of them. One thing I want to remind you of Mr. Kim is that even though he was a radical, the most radical poet, he wanted to write poems, peaceful. He wanted to create poems about peace, harmony, nature. He wanted to do that, but he was not able to do because of the extreme injustice of the situation in Korea. So his poems like poems of blood, poems of struggle. So, hope you remember that. Remember him, and then other people as well.
Thank you.